Hello, this is Mark. In my last video, I talked about how I have updated my program that simulates Sports Illustrated Baseball board game um, so that one single program can play multiple seasons using a minimal number of data files and sharing all the picture files of the stadiums and the logos and the players themselves. So as you can see here from the screen, I am now up to 7 teams. It has the original 1970, 71, and 72 teams that came with Sports Illustrated Baseball, and my game uses the same players as Sports Illustrated put out. Now, for the other years, the 4 other years I've added since, I had a lot of help from two people. One, Steve Etzel, who made a spreadsheet that you can input data from baseballreference.com and generate players for other seasons for the Sports Illustrated baseball game. So Steve did that, and another person named Merv Pate actually wrote a program that will automatically create seasons, teams and seasons using Steve's spreadsheet because it takes a long time to do it manually with the spreadsheet. So Merv speeded things up, and he actually even gave me some spreadsheets of seasons he created in the format that my game uses because my game doesn't use, you know, pieces of paper that you print out and you spin dice and you play the game the old-fashioned way. My game has to have, digital player data. So Merv did that for me. So I created these extra seasons. 67, 68, and 69, and 75 was the latest one I did. And 75 has designated hitter. So had to change some things in my program to make that work. And to show you that, I think that I will demonstrate the program by playing what's sometimes known as Game 6, which was Game 6 of the 1975 World Series. And I will show you what it is. The World Series in 1975 was the big red machine of Cincinnati against the Boston Red Sox. And the Reds won 4 games to 3, but Game 6 was the game that everybody remembers. That's the game that went extra innings. That's the game that Carlton Fisk hit the home run right down the left field line right at the end and the bottom of the 12th to walk off the game. Very exciting. A lot of people talk about it. So I'm going to replay it using my program here and using the new teams that I just created with Steve and Merv's help. And let me show you first what the actual Game 6 looked like. It's right here. That's not Game 6, is it? It wasn't 8-4. Game 6 was this one. Why do I keep going to Game 6? What's wrong here? Oh, I'm in the wrong year. Duh. I'm in 1970, 1967. So we'll go 1975, Boston Red Sox, boom. World Series, boom. All right, here's the right World Series. So here's the right Game 6 with the Boston Red Sox right here. They lost. The Red Sox beat the Reds 7-6 in 12 innings. And let's look at the box score. I've got written down here on a piece of paper next to me who played. I got all the starting lineups because I'm going to have to replicate that. But look at the Reds. They pinch hit for all their pitchers. I don't think any one of their pitcher ever batted. They pinch every time a pitcher came up. Sparky Anderson would pinch hit for them, and then he would bring in a relief pitcher, and that was because for a lot of the games, Cincinnati was behind or tied. So Red Sox scored 3 in the first inning, and it was 3-0 until the 5th inning when Cincinnati tied it. Then Cincinnati got ahead 6-3. Then the Red Sox tied it in the bottom of the 8th with a home run by Bernie Carbo pinch hitting. And then it went 0-0 with some pretty awesome defensive plays to stop runs from scoring until the 12th inning when Carlton Fisk hit his home run. So here's all the pinch hitters and all the relief pitchers that the Reds used. And then the Red Sox pinch hit for their pitcher twice. And those were the only things that they did. Pinch hit by Rick Miller, who's not in this game, and a pinch hit by Bernie Carbo, the one we talked about. So that's that. Now we can start the game up. I had 5 to play 1975. Let me play a couple sample seasons first, just for the heck of it. So my game can play all the games with the computer manager making all the decisions during the games. It plays all the American League games in order with the starting lineups and the starting pitchers, and all the National League games in order. And then I can look at the standings, and I can see that here's what happens a lot of times. The Red Sox do win the East a lot. Oakland most of the time wins the West, but not always. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia switch between winning the East and the National League, and the Dodgers seem to beat the Reds a lot in the National League. So I don't know why that is, but in this game, the Dodgers are better than the Reds, even though the Reds were the world champions. So let me try that again. See if it comes out the same. So there's the American League team. So the manager is making, computer's making the pinch hitting decisions, and there's the National League, and the computer's making the decisions on relief pitching and stealing and base running decisions and all that kind of stuff that you do with Sports Illustrated Baseball. So let's see what happened the second time through. Second time through, Boston won again. Oakland didn't win the West. Philadelphia beat Pittsburgh this time, and Los Angeles once again beat the Reds. One last try. I'll zero everything out, and I'll try it again. See if Cincinnati Reds can win the Western Division of the National League. There goes the National League. It doesn't take long for the computers to play it, and the Reds lost again. I can't explain why the Dodgers win the West all the time in this replay. Pittsburgh correctly won the East. Baltimore this time beat Boston, and the Oakland A's didn't win their division. So let's just look at some league leaders. We'll go with American League batting. Batting leaders, 450 at bats minimum. Here is the leaders from the last simulated season that I just did. And you can see in red is the leader in the actual 1975. So Carew won the batting title in 75, and he won it here in the replay. Jackson and Scott had the most home runs in the actual year. They came up here at the top here. Scott had the most RBIs. He's near the top. George Brett had the most hits in 75. He's near the top here. Fred Lynn had the most doubles. Oh, look at that. George Brett and Mickey Rivers had the most triples. They tied in 75, and they're number 1 and 2 here. So it matches up pretty good if you look at these leaders, the leaderboards. The stats come out pretty good, but the wins and losses don't always match up. There's runs scored. Here's the slugging, Fred Lynn. Here are the top hitters that could be MVPs. Fred Lynn was the MVP, and there's how he did the year. But some of the other top hitters in the simulated season also had good seasons. George Brett, 330, 332. Carew, 384. Wow, Rod Carew, 18 home runs. What a year for Rod Carew that year. 75 was a good year for him. Here are the pitchers for the American League. That's the batters again. All right, American League pitchers. Earned run average, 200 innings. Jim Palmer was the leader in the real life. Catfish Hunter, pitching for the Yankees, was the leader in my simulated season. Catfish pitched the most innings in both real season and here. Tanana had the most strikeouts in the real season, but not here. There's Palmer with wins. Wilbur Wood had the most losses in the real world. Gossage had the most saves. Raleigh Fingers pitched in the most games. And there's a couple of good pitchers in the season that might have been the Cy Young for my simulated season. So that being said, let's get back to the game and play it. We'll play the game. It's Cincinnati at Boston. There it is. All the stats you see here are from my simulated season, the last one that I just ran. So in this game, if it's a designated hitter era game and it's an interleague game, then I give the user the choice of playing with a designated hitter or not. Since this game was not played with a designated hitter, 75, all the World Series games were no designated hitter, I will say no to this. And then I will have to pick my pitchers. Gary Nolan started for Reds. Tion for the Red Sox. There's my starters. Batting orders are, let's look on my paper here. All right, Pete Rose led off. He played third base. She wasn't very good, as you can see, -3 is his rating. Batted second was Ken Griffey in right field. Batted third was Joe Morgan playing second base. Cleanup hitter was Bench. Fifth hitter was Perez. Sixth hitter was George Foster in left. Seventh was Davey Concepcion, the shortstop, and 8 was Cesar Geronimo, the center fielder. There's the Reds starting lineup. Now, when I go over to put the Red Sox starting lineup in, since this was a designated hitting here era, there's no lineups where my program goes. So look for lineups. If you wanted to pick your own, have the computer pick a lineup, it goes out and randomly picks one of the real lineups from 1975. But since none of the real lineups of 1975 had the pitcher in them, that's not an option here. So you can see the red message down there. No auto lineups for NL teams playing DH games or AL teams playing non-DH games during the DH era. So I can't just hit 55 and have them pick a lineup. I got to put it in. But I was going to put it in anyways because we're replaying the game. So in 1975, Game 6, the Red Sox had Cecil Cooper as the leadoff hitter. Denny Doyle as the second hitter. Batting third was Yastrzemski, who played left field in this game instead of first base, where he played most of the year. Fisk batted cleanup. Fred Lynn batted fifth. Batting sixth was Rico Petrocelli at third base. Batting seventh was Dwight Evans, who was a fantastic right fielder. And batting eighth was Rick Burleson. Look who was not playing that game was Jim Rice, who was wonderful rookie that year. Second to Rookie of the Year and third to MVP to both to Fred Lynn that year. But he was injured. He got injured late in the year and didn't get to play in the playoffs or the World Series. So he's not in this game. So there's my Red Sox team. I'll say yes to that. I'll say yes to rolling the dice. If you know, since Sports Illustrated Baseball is kind of simple on the way it does errors and the way it does defense. You add up all the defensive ratings of all the players and you get a number for each team. That number generates dice rolls that equate to defensive outs based on good defense, outstanding outs. So if the Cincinnati Reds pitcher rolls a 12 or a 14, that's going to be an automatic out. And the way that this game does errors there's just errors on the hitters charts that just pop up every once in a while, and that's an error. It doesn't do sophisticated. Okay, this was a grounder to shortstop, so the shortstop is this kind of rating, and then you roll the dice again, and they might have made an error, might not have made an error. It does it way I explained it. I will say yes to the dice rolls. So here we are. We're in Red Sox Fenway Park here. The way my game works is on the top line is the pitcher. And the bottom line is the batter against that type of pitcher. So that's Pete Rose against a right-handed pitcher. That second colorful line in the way Sports Illustrated works is you roll the dice for the pitcher, and sometimes he just determines the outcome of the play, and most of the time he passes it on to the batter. There's the D's for the defensive play on the pitcher. So those are the numbers that could possibly be outstanding plays, but they're not all outstanding plays. For the Red Sox, I'll look at their defense. The Red Sox defensive rating was 29, so their defensive outs are 11 and 12 because that's how Sports Illustrated game works. So if Tiant rolls an 11 or 12, then that's going to be an out. So let's start the game. Here's Tiant's first dice roll. He rolls a 15. That's not 11 or 12, so that's not an out. So Rose gets to roll. He rolls a 23, and you can see 23 is highlighted by the white box on Pete Rose's line, and that's a single with an asterisk. So that means two runners advance 2 bases. No one's on, so no one advances. Rose goes to first, and Griffey comes up. Tiant rolls a 24, nothing. And Griffey's 28 is a triple. So Rose scores on Griffey's triple, and they're off to a blazing start. Morgan comes up with a runner on third, nobody out. There's a 37. That's a ground out double play. That's a kind of ground out that doesn't score the runner from third. Johnny Bench comes up, 36 from Tiant. And there's a double. 20 is a double for Johnny Bench. So the Reds are all over this. Perez comes up with a runner on second, a 35. 35 for Perez is a pop out. So he's out. George Foster gets a 25. And then he rolls a 38 and strikes out. So the Reds come up with 2 runs in the first inning. Gary Nolan rolls a 36. Cooper a 32 is a ground out. 24 from Nolan is nothing. You can see the green boxes on the pitcher line mean the batter swings, or the batter rolls the dice. 24 for Denny Doyle. There's the 24 there highlighted. It's a ground out. And Carl Yastrzemski rolls Carl Yastrzemski rolls a 14. Yastrzemski hits a home run, a solo home run to make it a 2-1 game. Gary Nolan 17 and a 31 for Fisk is a flyout. So at the end of first, it's 2-1. Concepcion leads off. There's an 11. There's 11 or 12. I said was the numbers for Boston based on their defense, and this is an 11. So you can see the result box says ground out due to outstanding fielding. Also on the result box, if it's on the right side of the words result of play, if there's something there, that means the pitcher determined the out. If it's on the left side, it means the batter determined the out. So let's look at that on the next one. So 37 from Tion is nothing. A 23 or 24 on Geronimo's line is a blue box, which is a strikeout. And you can see on the result box there that the blue box is on the left side, meaning Geronimo determined the result of the play. So Gary Nolan comes up. I'll let Gary Nolan pitch. Let Gary Nolan bat, even though no pitcher is batted in the actual game. Okay, 38 is a pitcher's X box. It's going to be a wild pitch, but there's nobody on base, so nothing happens. I guess I won't have him bat. Why don't we just follow the way the game was played? Even though he pitched 2 innings in the game, he's only going to pitch 1 here. The first pinch hitter for Sparky Anderson was Darrell Chaney, so I'll pick Darrell Chaney out of my bench here that my program shows me. There's Darrell Chaney. A 31 from Tion and a 36 from Chaney is a strikeout, so he's out. All right, we'll follow the pitching order from the game. First reliever in the actual game was Fred Norman, so Fred Norman comes in. You can see Fred Norman's line has some ground outs and flyouts and strikeouts that Nolan didn't have. So it's possible for him to make an out for a batter that way, but a 20 is a green box. So Fred Lynn scores a 30, grounds out. Petrocelli comes up, a 30 for Norman, a 39. There's the error. So most of the time in Sports Illustrated Baseball, 39 on the batter line is an error, and Petrocelli is that way, so he gets on base on an error. Dwight Evans comes up, 32 is a walk from Fred Norman. So now the Red Sox have 2 men on, 1 man out. Burleson comes up, a 31 is nothing. Burleson grounds into a double play. So that's the end of that rally. And up come the Reds. Pete Rose, red, leads off. 39 is nothing. 36 is a ground out. Griffey comes up. 29 is nothing. 34 is also a ground out. So there's 2 outs in the top of the third. Joey Morgan gets walked by Tion. So there's Joe at first base. Let's have Joe Morgan steal. You can see that I put the speed number of the runner underneath his picture when he gets on base. So Morgan is a 5. That's the fastest you can be in this game. You can be 0 through 5. 5 is the fastest, 0 is the slowest. To steal a base, I hit S, and up pops the stealing of second base for a 5-runner chart from the game itself. At the top is number 10. At the bottom is number 39. The way the dice work here is the tens digit is the black dice, and on the black dice there's 3 3s, 2 2s, and 1 1. So there's 3s come up, 30s come up more than 20s come up more than 10. So down at the bottom is all the 30s. That's all green, and most of the 20s are green. So that means he has a very good chance of stealing. Since he rolled a 27, you can see the white box highlighting where a 27 is on that line, and it's a stolen base because it's a green box. Green is safe, red is out. So there goes Morgan to second. Let's see if Bench can knock him in at 33, and Bench can. Bench rolls a 23 and gets a single. A star means runners advance 2 bases in this game, so he scores. Perez comes up. Perez strikes out to end the inning, but now it's 3-1. Louis Tiant leads off. It's only the 3rd inning. Louis Tiant pitched a lot of innings in this game, so Louis Tiant will bat. He strikes out. Cecil Cooper comes up 23. There's a single for Cecil Cooper. He's on first. Danny Doyle gets walked by Fred Norman. 2 runners on for Yastrzemski. A 15 is not an automatic out for the Reds. A 25 is a strikeout for Yastrzemski. Here comes Carlton Fisk. Carlton Fisk gets walked because Norman rolled a 37. Bases loaded for Fred Lynn. Up. There's the number. 14 is one of their numbers. That's an outstanding fielding out. So that's a good time for that to come up from the Reds. So that ends the inning. Here we go in the top of the fourth inning. Foster leads off with a single. Dave Concepcion. There's a 14 from Tiant, and a 25 is a strikeout. Look at that. The strikeout is right in the middle of all those hits. Any other number nearby would have been a hit for Concepcion, but that one wasn't. 15 is nothing. A 23 is a single for Geronimo. And up comes the pitcher, and out comes a pinch hitter, because that's what Sparky Anderson did in this game. The second pinch hitter of the game in 1975 was a man named Ed Armbrister. So Ed comes up. Tiant rolls a 33 against him, and Ed rolls a 30, which is a ground out with a star, which means the runners advance. So they move up second and third. Pete Rose is up. Griffey's next. He's also a lefty, so it's not going to be any great advantage from walking Rose. So I'll let Rose hit. 27 is nothing from Tiant, and Rose singles. So maybe I should have walked him. Single with a star means two runners, two bases advance. Here comes Griffey. 23 and a 15 from Griffey is a walk. So Griffey gets a walk. Joe Morgan comes up again, 34. And a 30 is a fly out, so that's the end of that inning. The second pitcher for the Reds was Billingham, which was a starter all season long. So in my game, I don't let him relief, so I can't pick him here. So instead of picking Billingham, I'll skip to the fourth pitcher of the game for the Reds that day, and that was Clay Carroll. So Clay Carroll's on this list, and I could pick him, and I did. And there he is. And you can see his line is up there. He's got a couple of walks and a single, so he kind of just lets the batter do what the batter does. He doesn't make it easier or make it any harder. His single is on 19, which is the number that comes up the least. 34 is nothing. Petrocelli grounds out with a 23. Dwight Evans, there's a 34, another 34 from Carroll. That's another nothing. A 36 for Evans is a strikeout. Here comes Rick Burleson, 32. Burleson singles. Now we will pinch hit since we're down 5-0. In the real, or 5-1. In the real game, the Reds were, I think, Red Sox were still ahead at this point, 3-0. All right, the pinch hitters in the real game were, see, here's our bench in Sports Illustrated Baseball. There's no Rick Miller there, so I'm going to have to use different pinch hitters. I won't use Jim Rice since he was injured. I'll use Bernie Carbo because he was one of the pinch hitters in the actual game. Clay Carroll rolls a 19. That's funny. I said 19 was the number that comes up the least frequently, and it came up here. So Carroll gives Bernie Carbo a single. 1 is the least number on the black dice, and there's only 1 5 between both of the white dice. So you got to hit that 5, and then you got to hit a 4. This is the only way that 19 can happen, as these three dice positions. So there's the single for Clay Carroll. Here comes Cecil Cooper. Cecil could make some hay here. He needs a 20, 21, 22, 23. 24 is a home run for him, which is a number that comes up a lot. But it didn't come up this time. It came up at 32. So Cecil Cooper ended the inning. Now we need a reliever. The Red Sox used Tiant, Moret, Drago, and Rick Wise. So I'll use Moret. He was the second pitcher for the Red Sox that day. And there's Roger Moret. He's got a strikeout on 19 and a K on 18. A K means that it's a strikeout unless the batter gets a hit, in which case the hit stands. 35 is nothing. 35 for bench is ground out. 31 is nothing. 22 is a fly out for Perez. 32, and then there's a 33 for Foster, and he's out. So Roger Moret gets him out 1, 2, 3. Danny Doyle. The Red Sox got to start chipping away at this lead pretty soon. 22 for Doyle's a fly out. Kar Yastrzemski, home run, the only run of the game so far for the Red Sox, and Yastrzemski gets a double. Here's Carlton Fisk. Carlton Fisk gets a 36 from Carroll, and that's a nothing. A 38 is a fly out. Here comes Fred Lynn. 39 is nothing, and 24 is a strikeout. So Clay Carroll gets through his inning. Concepcion leads off with there's a 15 for Moret, and a 34 is a flyout. Here's Geronimo. 38 is a pitcher's X, which is there on the left side of the screen. Could be a wild pitch or pass ball or hit by pitch or a balk. I think a balk is on here. There's one balk. So you roll the dice to see what happened with the pitcher's X. Since there's nobody on, it's a pass ball, and that doesn't do anything, so Concepcion keeps batting. 23 is nothing. A 30 is a ground out. All right, here comes a pitcher, and here comes a pinch hitter from Sparky Anderson, because that's how he played the game. Next pinch hitter of the actual game was Terry Crowley. So here comes Terry Crowley against lefty Roger Moret. Probably wouldn't have done that in a real game because it probably wasn't a left-handed pitcher when Sparky brought Terry Crowley out, but what the heck. I'm just following his order here. And then Crowley gets a hit against a lefty. So turns out it wasn't a dumb move. 23 for Moret is nothing. 33 for Pete Rose is a ground out. Would have been a double play, but there's already 2 outs, so it's just a regular ground out. Okay, next pitcher out of the bullpen of the Reds was Pedro Borbon. Borbon, if you can look at his line, he's got a walk there at 21. Then he's got 2 singles. He's not too good of a pitcher. But Sparky must have known something when he put him in the real game. The 10 is a nothing. 26 is a leadoff single for Petrocelli. Evans comes up with a 25. There's a 35. That's a flyout. Rick Burleson with a 26. That's a single that Pedro Borbon gives Rick Burleson. You can see that it's got a white box around it on the pitcher's line, and it's on the right side of the result box. So here we are with 2 runners on, and of course we're not going to let the pitcher bat down 4. Let's take a look at these pinch hitters we have here. We got a right-handed pitcher, and I don't have any left-handed hitters. You kind of look at the lines there for each one against the right-handed pitcher and see where the green is. If there's a lot of green, in the middle of the 20s or a lot of green on the 30s, that's a good hitter. I show the home runs, but I don't show doubles and triples. It would get too messy on this abbreviated chart. So I can't use Rice. He's injured, so I'll use Juan Beniquez. So there's Beniquez coming up here against, he rolled a 12, and that's the Reds' number for automatic out. So Juan Beniquez doesn't even get to roll the dice. He just hits in a force out. Cecil Cooper comes on, still 2 runners on. 21, he walks Cecil Cooper. That brings up Denny Doyle. Bases loaded, 2 outs. This is a key situation for Denny Doyle. 30. And he does not come through. He rolls a 34 and grounds out. So that's the end of 6 innings. Next reliever for the Red Sox was Dick Drago. So here comes Dick Drago into the game. Pitched most of his career for Kansas City. So there's his picture with a Kansas City uniform on. Pitches to Griffey. 31 is nothing. 22 is a single for Griffey. Griffey's on first. Morgan comes up. There's another 31. A 37 is a double play. So Morgan hits into a double play. Now there's 2 outs for Bench. 31 again. 26 is a single. So Bench goes up to first base. Tony Perez comes up. Let's have Bench steal. What the heck? He's a 3-runner. They're way ahead. And he rolls a 33, and there's the steal chart for the 3-runner, and the 33 is a green box, so Bench successfully steals second. Perez, there's a 26 to him, and a 35 is a pop-out. So the stolen base doesn't do anything. And the Red Sox come up in the bottom of the 7th. Carl Yastrzemski, they're still looking for their second run. A 34, a 37 is a ground out for Yastrzemski. Carlton Fisk comes up. 34 is nothing. 33 is a ground out for Fisk. It's not looking too good for the Red Sox here. Borbon gives a single to Lynn because it's on his pitcher line. So there's Freddie Lynn at first with Rico Petrocelli up. Petrocelli single, so we got a 2-out rally going here. Dwight Evans comes up. He's got a home run there in the 20s, like 27, I think. There's a 17, there's a nothing. There's a 12. 12 is usually a good number for hits, but for Evans, it's not. It's a fly out, so that ends the inning. George Foster leads off against Drago. 36 is nothing, and 30 is ground out. Concepcion comes up, 23. And then there's a ground out. And then Cesar Geronimo comes up, and there's a 22 of Drago and a 35. So Drago's doing pretty good getting outs. Bottom of the 8th. Borbon's still out there. There's only two more pitchers. So let's bring in a reliever here. There was still three more pitchers that used in the 12-inning game. Eastwick, McEnany, and Darcy were all used. So we'll use Eastwick. He's next. Next out of the pen. There he is. Raleigh Eastwick. There's his line. He's got some outs on his line. You can see a ground out, and there's a fly out way over on 39, a strikeout on 37. So let's see what he does. He rolls an 11. That's nothing to Burleson. Burleson singles to lead off. Drago, the pitcher, is now up. You can see his picture down there. He's not going to bat, of course. All right, we have to make a decision now against right-handed pitcher Raleigh Eastwick. Have to decide which one of these guys looks the best. I wish I could use Jim Rice. I'm going to use backup catcher Bob Montgomery. He's got a home run on 12. Maybe how 12 will come up for him. Who knows? 36 is nothing. 12 did not come up. 35 came up. Montgomery struck out. Cooper comes up. 20 is a base on ball for Eastwick. So we got two runners on again for Danny Doyle. 35, and Doyle grounds into a double play. Danny Doyle has not come through in the clutch here in this game. I like Danny Doyle, though. He's a good player. Okay, here we go. We pinch hit for our pitcher. We got to bring another pitcher. Let's see who they used. They used Tiant, Moret, Drago, and Wise. Rick Wise was a starter, so he's not allowed to be a reliever in my game. I'll bring in Jim Willoughby down there at the bottom. So here's Jim Willoughby against Raleigh Eastwick. He can't bat because they didn't have any of their pitchers bat. So the next pinch hitter was all four pinch hitters are going to be used in this game, just like in the real game. So Dan Dreesen was the last pinch hitter for the Red Sox or for the Reds. He gets a 34 from Willoughby. He rolls a 32. He grounds out. Pete Rose comes up. There's a 36 from Willoughby. That's nothing. A 38 for Pete is a fly out. Griffey comes up. By the way, I'm going to put a link to where all these files are. So if anyone has a Windows PC and wants to play this game themselves, you can go out to a place called Dropbox, get yourself a free ID and download all these files and try it out yourself. All right, Griffey's up. 25 from Willoughby is nothing. 24 from Griffey's a single. Morgan comes up with Griffey on first. The 23 is a single for Morgan, so they got something going here. Johnny bench. Willoughby walks bench to load the bases. Tony Perez with the 34. Tony Perez, look at that. Tony Perez rolled a 23. He hit a grand slam. Team was already up 5-1. Now they're up 9-1. Tony Perez picture gets put into the result box when he hits a home run. Pretty nice. George Foster, 26, gets walked. That's enough of Willoughby. Willoughby's done. I don't want to see him anymore out there. Let's bring in, longtime reliever Diego Segui. He was on the Oakland team during the glory years. 24 from Diego is nothing. 24 is a single for Concepcion. Geronimo comes up, 26. Geronimo bloops a single in there. Look at that. They batted around. Dan Dreesen pinch hit for the pitcher. So he's still in the game in the pitcher position, so he gets to bat twice as a pinch hitter. That doesn't happen very often, does it? 32, he walks him. Segui walks him. Dreesen's on first now. There's a 35 and a 26. So mercifully, the top of the ninth ends. 5 runs for the Reds. Here come the Red Sox. The Reds get to put another pitcher in. Let's see. They also used McEnany or Darcy. So we'll use Will McInerney, who was primarily a reliever during his career, I believe. Yastrzemski comes up at 33. Yastrzemski grounds out. The Red Sox are probably just thinking they just want to get this game over with. Carlton Fisk singles. 22 from McEnany. 22 is a double play. So that's the end of the game. The Reds won 10-1. So if that was really Game 6 of 1975 World Series, the Reds would have won the World Championship in this game. But since they didn't really win the game, there was a Game 7. But the Reds won the Game 7. So it all ended well for the Reds. There's this game. Nolan was the winner. Tiant was the loser. There's the hitting. Look at the Reds hitting. They had so many batters you can't even see the totals got overwritten if I hit any key to continue line. But they did have 15 hits. I can see that through the other letters. They only had one home run, one double, one triple, so lots of singles. Tony Perez with the grand slam. Stolen bases by Morgan and Bench. Here are the Red Sox hitting. They had 11 hits. They had a lot of hits, but couldn't bring many runners home. Burleson had 3 hits. There's Denny Doyle up there 0 for 4. Poor Denny. Yastrzemski 2 for 5. He hit the home run. In the first inning, that was the only run they had. There's all their pitchers. Here's the Reds pitchers. They all did good. Nolan let up that single run. Nobody else let up any runs. All those relievers came in and did their job. Let up a lot of hits, but held the runs off the board. And there's the Red Sox pitchers. Tiant let up 5, and Willoughby in that last inning let up 5. The rest of them did okay. Siki, Moret, and Draco didn't let up any runs. So that's that. That's the end of the Game 6 demonstration. And like I said, if anyone wants to try this game out themselves, go to the comment field and look for the link. And go get the files and play away. So that is all I have for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon.